What up? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are inside of my office and I have this big white bed sheet behind me because we are going to recreate a shot that I got a lot of compliments on, which I'm very thankful of. Thank you guys so much. But I recently posted a video that I made to Threads, and one of the most overwhelmingly unanimous comments that I got was that the opening shot to that whole video was amazing. And I'm super thankful about that. Thank you guys for commenting and leaving that. But when I was watching it again, it made me realize that I would do it differently. Since making that video, I've learned a lot. And there's a lot of things that I want to implement into that shot that I think can make it even better. So today we're going to recreate that shot. But first, let me go ahead and show you what that shot is, and then we can kind of dive into the things that I'm going to change about it. So now that you guys have seen that, let me go ahead and show you what we're going to be filming on. So this is the camera that I have. It is the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K full frame. I'm using a Nikon vintage 35mm lens. I think it's currently at f4. I have a black mist diffusion filter on it. It's 1/4. And then I also have a variable ND filter on this. And then if we come over here to this side of the camera, we can kind of see what we're looking at in terms of the frame. So right now, let me undo this. So right now it's pretty dark overall, but what I'm trying to do is expose for the outside. I noticed that in the first shot and the shot that I'm recreating, the outdoors looks way too bright, and I'd like to bring that down so you can actually see what's going on out there, because I think it looks really pretty. I think the houses that we live around are very nice and the color is really nice, so I want to try to keep that in the shot. I also have it on a slider. It's like a cheap slider that I got from Amazon. But yeah, so that's currently what we're looking at. One of the things that I struggled with when I was first starting is like how to expose properly. And it definitely varies on the scene that you're trying to shoot. I obviously didn't expose for the highlights, which is what would be outside, but it still looked great. This time I want to expose for the highlights because I want to have a much more controlled looking image. I don't want anything to be really blown out. And the way that we're going to accomplish that is through this. I made an actual like diagram of the things that we're going to be changing here. So at the very beginning, if I remember correctly, the first time I did it, I had like my 150D outside just shining straight through the window. It wasn't even the same color temperature as the rest of the outside was. And then I think I had my 60X bouncing into the ceiling just to kind of give a little bit more ambient fill. And this time what we're going to do is this whole thing. So I have this bed sheet that you were seeing behind me. This bed sheet here, and I'm going to shine a light through this with either a full CTB or a half CTB to kind of get a little bit of a cooler temperature on it. It's a daylight balance light. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm actually not going to have the shower curtain, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot my Nanlite 300D with the Fresnel up into a gold reflector and have that shine back in through the window. One of the other things that I also learned too was that when you're trying to recreate light, you don't want to just turn on the light and have it shine through something because it's way too bright at the very beginning and then it falls off really rapidly. So you want to give that light some distance to travel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it on the ground, I'm going to shine it up into the reflector, and then it's going to come through the window. That's going to give it a lot more distance to travel and give it a much more even glow as opposed to it being really bright and really sourcey at the beginning and then quickly falling off. So with that, that's going to give us pretty much our key light. And then over here on the side, I recently picked up a Lico that I'm going to put onto a stand and shine into the window to kind of give us a little bit of texture on the wall. The other thing I also realized too is that if you're ever shooting into like a flat wall, it's also really nice to just shine some light on it just to give it a little bit of texture. And then the contrast ratio I'm going to try to go for is 8:1. We'll see if I can actually do that. But yeah. Having something like this is extremely helpful because it helps not only you, but anyone else who's helping you to make the shot. Like for example, the person who's holding my camera, my girlfriend, she's going to be helping me out with this. And by having this really gives both of us a very clear idea as to what needs to happen and how we need to get this done. That, and also I'm going to show you guys something in a little bit, but I recently found a new software at Satellite 3D where you can actually like choose these lights, adjust the percentages of like output that they have, and it'll show you real time what that light is doing on your subject. It's super geeky and super nerdy, but it's super helpful. So I'll kind of go into that a little bit later because I also did make a recreation of this whole thing with that too. So yeah, but with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and keep setting up and we'll kind of have you follow along with us as we're doing this. So this is Satellite 3D. And it's a really, really cool software, actually. I was actually able to completely recreate the room that we filmed in. So this is representing the white bed sheet that I put up, the light that I have. I set the color temperature here on this to 7,500 Kelvin, I believe. Um, and then I shined it into this, and that's kind of giving this blue ambience here. And then right here we can see we have my Lico pointing in here, giving us the light here on the wall, and then obviously the desks and Yasmin, my girlfriend, the model here as well. And then we can also see from like the top view down here where these lights are positioned, how they're positioned, the way that the room is set up. Honestly, if you guys want to give this a try, this is unsponsored, but Satellite 3D does a 14-day free trial. I would highly recommend it if you're looking at something like this. This is going to be a huge help for you in your pre-production planning into anything that you're trying to do, whether that's for YouTube, whether that's for like fun little shots like this where you're just trying to get better, or you're planning for an actual production. So yeah, back Darren outside. We have the reflector set up, and it's ideally not as close as I wanted it to be because you can see it within the window. So we moved it back to try to eliminate that. But as you can also see, the wind here is playing a huge factor into how this is performing. Because while the idea is great, since we're having it outside, the wind is also a factor. And I have, I think, like a combined total of like 40 pounds here on the stands, but it's looks like it's barely doing the job. If you ever actually have to do this and set this up anywhere, just make sure that you have a lot of sandbags in place, or you have enough crew here to help and hold down these stands. Otherwise, we're basically making a sail. That's what this is, essentially. So, come to find out, there actually is a tornado watch in our area. So that would explain for the high winds at the moment, which was obviously not something I was accounting for. So if you do want to do something like this, just make sure you look at your weather map or your weather app or whatever you're using. Very important day of, and to also prep for, but I didn't do that. Okay, so after that colossal failure, we kind of put our minds together to try to figure out what we're going to do next. And actually what I think I'm going to do, which is something I also critiqued myself before, but with a little bit more knowledge and kind of a different mindset behind it, I'm going to go ahead and put my 300D with the Fresnel, and I'm just going to shine it into the window. Now, the thing that I'm doing differently here is that I'm allowing space between the light and the window to allow for that light fall off to be a lot more natural. So ideally, I'd have a much stronger light from a much farther away distance to shine through the window. All I have right now is the 300D, so we're just going to stick with that. And by having the Fresnel on it, it gives it a much harsher sense of light, as if it's coming from a sunset. And since that's kind of like the only things that we have available to us right now, that's what we're going to roll with. And then on the other side over there, I have the Lico. That is a beast. That thing weighs like 30 pounds. It's crazy. But I have that shining onto the wall to hopefully give just a little bit of texture onto the wall, just not too much, just something that doesn't look completely bare. Because something that I'm trying to emulate within the image is like the light, and dark again. So with these lights being set up now, I think we're okay. We can kind of head back inside to do the final little adjustments, and then we'll get rolling. We move back inside, and this is the room so far. There's a little bit of haziness that I put into the air. I recently acquired this actual Hazer down here, so I'm using it, and it kind of just gives a little bit more of a softer feeling. It kind of just gives the image a little bit of texture. Sometimes if you don't do stuff like that, it can make your image look a little clinical and a little sharp, which is okay. That's totally fine. For me, I wanted it to look a little bit more filmic. I wanted to add a little bit more texture to it, so I put a little bit of haze. And you can kind of see what the Lico is doing here on the wall right here. You can see I have it shine through the blinds just to give a little bit more texture onto this wall. A lot of times, if you're dealing with like a flat wall within your image, it can be a little dull. So one of the things that I've learned is just to shine some light on it, whether that's through a spotlight, whether that's through a Fresnel, or anything else that you're using. Just putting a little bit of light onto the wall can add a lot more depth to the image, and I highly recommend it if you are dealing with something like that. And yeah, so with that, we're gonna go ahead and get recording because I think we have some rain coming in really quickly. So the idea that I had of trying to get the soft, warm glow from the sunset happening is not gonna happen because clouds just came in so quickly. But we're gonna work with what we have, and I'm gonna show you guys the final results right now. One of the things I really like to do after I finish making a shot is critique it. I think that we can be our biggest critics, but I also think that what we tell ourselves about the stuff that we create is most often true. We're our biggest critics, and the only person that wants to see us get better more than anyone is us. You know, me, you. So I have the image here, uploaded them to GoodNotes, and let's just go ahead and start marking it up. So off rip, one of the things that I was really trying to go for here was a color contrast. Now, I went into this without doing a ton of research into how to recreate kind of like the soft blues. So I think the blues here are a little too harsh for my liking. Like for example, if we look here, if we look here, and if we look here, we can kind of see that the blues here are a little too bright for my liking. Honestly, I think this could probably just be corrected if I just brought the intensity down on the light. I think if I brought the intensity down, it would have gotten it to a better point that I would have enjoyed a lot more. The other thing that I also noticed too, which is again kind of out of my control, is just the outside here. So this light that I have pouring in, way warmer than what is going on outside, and that's just because of the weather and stuff. But good note, make sure you look at the weather app moving forward or wherever you're gonna shoot, because the weather can change on a dime, and it's really awful for you to have something planned beforehand only to come to find out that you can't do that day of. But, you know, outside aside, I think that the light recreation and the way that it's falling off is exactly the way that I wanted it to happen. One thing I've learned literally in the 100 of hours I've put into YouTube learning this stuff is, so let's say the window isn't here. We'll just cross that out. And let's say that we're using this lamp right here as a motivation. And if we look at our false colors, we'll just say that this is like middle gray. We'll just say that is middle gray. So if this is middle gray, you don't want any light coming off of it to be any brighter than that. So the light that is hitting her skin right here, if it's coming from the lamp, should be shades darker than what this lamp is producing. I think the outside light over here starts off bright, and then as it reaches her, it just slowly starts falling off, and then eventually it hits her skin in a very natural way. And I really, really enjoy that. Another thing I'm really enjoying about this image right now is the fact that I was wanting to go into it to try to implement the light, dark light again within the scene. And I think I actually did do that. Small critique, but we'll get there. So let's, for example, light, dark, you know, light, dark. So one of the things that I also learned is that you want to try to put the light, dark, light theme in every shot that you have, because it helps create depth. It really gives interest to the image. And one thing that I'm noticing right here that I would have done just slightly differently is I would have added something right here. By putting something right here, it probably would have helped even out the image just a little bit more. I think if we look at the image as a whole, this side over here just looks a little too dark. I would have loved to have just put like a little practical right here, or, you know, just something just to give a little bit more pop. But again, overall, I think it was great. And we can see that over here, this light is doing exactly what I needed it to. It just wanted to give just a little bit of pop on that back wall. I think without that light, the image again would have been a little bit dull. You know, per preference, you could also not have this light here. And then the sole subject of this image is just her. That would single her out. And if that's the image that you're going for, then that's exactly what you need to do. For me personally, I just wanted to create a lot of depth in it. So I decided to go ahead and throw that on the wall. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys got something from this. If you guys have any questions about anything, please let me know down below. I'll be more than happy to help. Subscribe, like the video, and I will see you guys soon.